And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this, of course, is my channel, Bar None 11970. And as always, I'd like to start out my videos by thanking each and every one of you, whether you're watching this live or you watch it days, weeks, months later. I always appreciate those who have a different point of view, a different way of thinking, critical thinking, and being able to think for yourselves. And know things can always change. So with that being said, I wanted to do kind of a shout out kind of video, a question and answer. I haven't done one of these in a very long time. And considering my channel has reached over 4 million views, it's like 4,100 recently. My most popular video, The Truth About the United States Law and You, a week ago hit 500,000 views and is already up to almost 550,000. So there were people that must have been sharing it, and I really appreciate that. And I wanted to do a kind of question and answer for those of you who may want to ask any questions or just leave comments and want to get a shout out. Because one of the things I've always seen, I mean, I've been on YouTube now since about 2010, and I've subscribed to many channels off and on throughout the years. And I've participated in many live shows. And the one thing I noticed is a lot of the channels, they don't like to do shout outs. They don't like to talk about other people's channels. And I guess it's a competition thing. I never understood that because with me, if you have a channel that does something that is productive, something that is good, something that is helpful, why wouldn't people want to share that and get that out there? Now, obviously, I'm not going to be promoting any troll channels or anything like that. So, I mean, that's just, I want something that where people are doing something that is beneficial, whether that's teaching people or, something that makes people smile or make them think differently. So if you have a channel that you want to have promoted, let me know about it and I'll do that. But if you have any questions, I would love to be able to answer them to the best of my ability. Just keep in mind, I am not a professional. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a government employee. I basically just do this because it just has meaning for me. The whole situation for me to start this channel was basically, I mean, to be honest, my first original channel was just trying to get on YouTube, and I was making some cartoon videos. And didn't work out, so I showed some of my silver and coin collection because one good thing about Insomnia is you get to see back in the days, especially around 2006, I was up and there was a lot of Shop at Home Network channels. And I started seeing all these coin networks, and I used to collect coins when I was a kid, so I started gaining interest in it. And I remember buying my first gold coin, and it was a 1/10 ounce. It was graded by ICG. It was an MS70 Gold Eagle. And I never had a gold coin in my life. I spent, I think it was like $90 and some odd change after tax and shipping. I wish I could get those prices for that now, but I remember when I first got it, I'm like, it was like literally the size of a dime. And I'm like, I just spent $90 on this little tiny thing. And now that same coin is worth probably about 150 to 200, even with the decline. And I started posting videos about coins, show my collection. As a matter of fact, that original collection I re-uploaded onto this channel, so it's somewhere in there if you want to see just a sample of some of the silver and gold collection I have. And then people started messaging me, asking me, telling me, oh, the silver market is corrupted. And people tell me the government was corrupted. And I just really started getting into it. And when you first start learning about this stuff, you get bombarded with information. You get bombarded with 600 different directions to go. And especially when you're new, it could be intimidating, it could be overwhelming, it could even be depressing. So it took a couple of years for me to really find my niche and understand or understand what's going on in this world a little bit better. And in the beginning, it was definitely a rough road, and I can understand how some of the people didn't like me back then or didn't appreciate what I was doing because I was still trying to figure out what was really truth. So, I mean, the more I've done this, the more I realize, because you need real eyes to realize, that you make your own truth. And everything that you truly believe in with your heart becomes your own truth, even if someone else or no one else sees it the same viewpoint. So if you want to ask any questions, get a shout out, anything like that, please leave it in the comments section. And let's see if anybody left anything. Stacy Brooks says, what is the best method to stop the IRS from chasing someone unfairly? Um, I mean, I don't work for the IRS. I don't work for a agency, so it's really hard to say, and it really depends on the scenario. Keep in mind that when you start researching these things, you learn that taxes are not the way that we're told. They're not made for, they always tell you, you pay your taxes because they help towards going towards bridges and roads. It goes towards repaying the debts that governments borrow from foreign banks like the Federal Reserve, and they have to pay back the interest. And instead of doing it themselves, they decide it's a smarter idea for them to get the people to do it, and it seems to be working. And one of the things you start to realize is that the taxes are, from what I believe, is voluntary. So the problem is when you are in this game, and one of the things I've learned, especially since that video, The Truth of the United States Law and You, they try and tell you it's all about the capital letters. It's the name itself. And if you accept that name, you take responsibility for the trust they put in it when you're born. So I'm not going to get into the full details of that. Obviously, if you want to know more details about that, check out that video. But to me, trying to avoid these things is not being part of it. So it's really hard to say when you're part of a corporation, because so many people have asked me, how do you get out of the system? Well, to get out of the system is not being part of it, which means there's going to be a lot of sacrifices, which means you're not going to get, food stamps or government subsidies. You're not going to have all the government programs. You're not going to be able to use credit cards, things like that. So they kind of trap you with the convenience of their prison. So they take care of you, and most people don't want to back out. So it's really hard to say. So I mean, I leave that up to you. So that's a hard question to be able to answer without being a professional, quote unquote, with that. So I'm sorry I couldn't give you a much better answer. Resource-based economy says, would you interview or be interviewed by someone? I don't really do the interviews. I have been interviewed once or twice on YouTube. I've had a bit good experiences and bad experiences with that. I don't mind if somebody wanted to interview me. I would absolutely be able to do that, depending on the scenario. I used to do a lot of live shows on my comic book channel, and I used to just invite anybody and anybody who wanted to join in. And unfortunately, sometimes the few bad apples spoil the tree. But if somebody let me know and they were interested in what I have to say, I'm more than willing to participate. So absolutely. As far as interviews, I don't know anybody who'd want to be interviewed by me, because my channel's not that big, and a lot of people that are, the big time people out there, they want to go to bigger channels so they could sell their products. And unfortunately, my channel, even with, 35,000 some odd subscribers, is just not enough to get people's attention. Let's see. A shout out, Nancy Devia says, yes, I guess he was agreeing to one of the comments. Nobody says, man, I want to ask, let me scroll back up. A couple of people are commenting. I want to ask about voluntary servitude and the Universal Commercial Code and how to use it when you sign things digitally. Well, the thing is, if you sign something, even digitally, you are volunteering your servitude. You're giving your consent. So that's why, for example, if somebody owes a lot of money and is getting called by debt collectors, here's some advice. Debt collectors buy your loan from the credit card company or wherever they're getting it from. And you did not make a contract with the people who buy out either your mortgage or your bank loan or your car loan or your student loan. So the way they get you to volunteer your servitude is, first of all, if they call and they say, hi, is your name John Smith? If you say yes to that, well, you're consenting to be that corporation under your name, and they got you. So the first advice I would give, it's my understanding and my belief that once you acknowledge your name, which is not owned by you, it's owned by the corporation because they have your DNA samples when you're born. So they trademark your DNA and make it into a legal corporation. And they hand you all the ability to borrow money or pay fees or pay loans or pay taxes that accumulate interest over time. So, for example, if you have a mortgage and it's been sold Well, you made an agreement with the original mortgage company, which, by the way, mortgage stands for death pledge. That's why morgue, the port mort has to do with morgue, mortgage, to check into that. But if they sell, and I've seen this on several different videos from very professional people, that if they sell your loan, you did not make a contract with this other company. So the way they can get you is by calling you up and harassing you. And if you send any money, even if you pay it off, you've admitted guilt and you've volunteered your servitude. So one of the things I would highly recommend, it's my belief that if you have some kind of loan, well, don't pay it. Now, obviously, the reason that you can get away with that now, if you already have a loan, is you were not given full disclosure. They did not tell you the situations that were really occurring. Now, the last thing you want to do is go say, oh, with this information, I'm going to go get a credit card, max it out, and just not pay it. Well, then you're stealing because you're doing it willingly. And you do have the prior knowledge. So I don't recommend anybody do anything illegal or immoral. But when it comes to, example, your mortgage, what they don't tell you is they don't own the actual land or the property. They own the piece of paper that you buy. So even if you bought your house cash, let's say it was $500,000 and you said, here, here's 500,000 fiat debt notes, and they hand you the title. Well, congratulations, you just bought a piece of paper with fancy writing on it for $500,000. And that is why with the whole mortgage situation, when you ask for not the original copy, because the original is the first copy, and this is how they get you with terminology and legal definitions, because like they say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So what you really want to ask for is the genuine banknote, because it doesn't exist. So how can they show proof of ownership if they don't have it? That's like saying, well, I'm going to give you some money, but I'm going to make a copy of that money and hand you the copy of that money. What value does that copy of that money have? It doesn't. So when you volunteer your servitude, it not only means you consent, but a lot of times they get you through your consent of silence. And I've used this example so many times. If you and your friends are going out for dinner and you're all going to pay your own separate ways, let's say there's 4 of you. And at the end, there's dessert, and you order a cake. And the cake, they cut it into 5 slices. Now, there's 4 of you, so each of you get a slice, and there's 1 slice left over. Well, if one of you, let's say me, I say out loud, I am going to take that last piece of cake. Now, what's happening is I am creating a trust. I am creating a verbal contract, making a statement that I am making claim on that last piece of cake. Now, because it's not officially mine yet, because we've all agreed we would split the tab for all the food, the other people have a say. So the other 3 people can say, yeah, go ahead, you can have it. They could say, no, I don't think you should be the one to get the last piece. They could say you could divide it, or they could say nothing at all. So if I make a legal claim for that piece of cake, and none of the other people say anything to dispute it, well, that's the same as agreeing, because they're not telling me no. And the way governments get away with their theft from the mortgages and from all the debts is that no one disagrees with it. And the funny part is, when you are born and they extract your DNA from the sole of your foot, this extracting blood from the sole, it's technically from the sole of your foot. Your DNA is in your bloodstream. So it's like, for example, and I've used this before, if you get your hair cut and you leave that hair at the salon, well, even though that came from you, you've abandoned it, so it's considered abandoned property. So if somebody wanted to take all that hair and turn around and sell it, they can, because you've abandoned your property. It's just like a piece of jewelry. If you lost your watch and somebody found it and put it in the lost and found, if you don't claim it within a certain amount of time, and I think that would vary from state to state, but I think the average is 30 days, it's no longer your property, even though it once was yours because you didn't claim it. And let's say, for example, let's say you look out your window and you see somebody steal your car. You're going to call the cops. You're going to do something about it. You're going to try and get your product back, your item back. But if you decided to say, oh, well, them's the breaks, and you do nothing, well, even though the person should not have done the crime and has committed a crime, if you do nothing to stop them, then they get away with it. And that's the same thing with every corrupt system in every corrupt government in this on this planet. Is we may complain, we may argue, we may not like it, we may go into the, go in kicking and screaming and yelling and protesting and all this other stuff, but we consent because we send in the checks, because we do vote in this system, or we tend to stay silent. And what they do is they use the emotion. And that's why you see all this stuff about social justice warriors, and you see all this stuff about the extreme leftists and the extreme rightists and the Donald Trump fans and the Donald Trump enemies and haters, and all these things when it comes to race and sex and all this stuff is they want to use divide and conquer to get you to no longer think about your priorities. Just imagine if you're a baseball player at the plate. What do they tell you? They tell you to keep your eye on the ball. In other words, concentrate on that. Well, what do you think would happen to you if you're at the plate and you're thinking about what the crowd is saying? Or you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner later? Or you're dreaming about some girl you met the night before? Do you think you're going to be able to get a decent hit when you're not paying attention? So that's what the whole distractions are all about. And they make it very extreme because they want as many people as possible to fight amongst themselves. And that's what divide and conquer is all about. And these are the secrets people need to know about, because we can complain all we want. If we continue to contribute to their system, then we are a part of it. So, it's like being in a relationship where you complain about the person all the time and yet you still invest your life in that person. Well, whose fault is that if you choose to stay? Complain all you want, you're still in a situation you don't want to be in. The way to leave is to not participate. So it all comes down to your servitude. And that's why if you look at the Constitution and you look at the amendments of the United States of America Corporation, under the 13th Amendment, where they legally define the word slavery, they define it as involuntary servitude, which means they cannot, for example, force you to get a driver's license. But you can do it voluntarily. And if you're told to never use your birth certificate, and you go to the motor vehicles and use your birth certificate as your identification to get your driver's license, they didn't put a gun to your head and make you do it. They even told you, it even says it on your birth certificate, not to be used. Well, that's your fault. And people don't want to take responsibility. And you see in this world, they try and teach everybody that nothing is your fault, because then you would have to take responsibility. They want you to rely on others, like the people in government, who will tell you everything that you want to hear, but do very little of what they say. And we keep giving them the benefit of the doubt over and over again, because every 4 years or some odd years, depending on what form of government it is, a new person will come along that will say the nice things that we all want to hear, and it starts all over again. And that is why things never change unless you are incredibly wealthy. Because even if you get a few trinkets here and there because you sold out your soul to help other people, it doesn't work good for you in the long run. Because look at how many things have become more and more expensive over the years, and how many people are becoming more dependent on government for welfare and government subsidies. It's not going to get easier if we continue to remain silent. And the problem is, most revolutions, if there is a revolution, comes when they have nothing left. And if revolutions worked, well, we would only need one, and it would succeed, and we would be forever better, wouldn't we? Well, how many revolutions have there been over the millennials? We're not anywhere closer to a utopia. So it's the illusion that does it. So you have to take part, and sometimes that's all about sacrifice. So Jess Weslowski says, "Hey Chris, hello back." All right, let's see. Terry Coleman says, "File a UCC-1 and copyright your name." The problem with that is even if you file something, who are you filing it to? You're filing it to corrupt government. And you're again acknowledging your name as you. So that's why I've never filed any of these UCC documents. Why are you telling your slave owners that you are free and paying? A lot of times you have to pay for these services. When you're admitting your name, you're admitting your guilt, you're admitting your corporation instead of walking away. So, I mean, as much as people think that stuff is helpful, you're actually hurting yourself because you're acknowledging your name. as you, and they have your name incorporated. It's like, for example, if you take somebody's identification and you steal their identity and you get arrested, you can't prove that you're that person, so you'll get in a lot of trouble because you're not allowed to do that. Well, how do you prove you're you? Can't you falsify a document? Can't you take somebody else's driver's license? Can't you copy somebody's signature? How can you prove you are who you say you are? Just because you have a bunch of government documents? They can absolutely be forged. You know how you prove you're you? Your DNA. Well, you abandoned, and your parents abandoned your DNA when you were born. And when you abandoned it, they legally claimed it and turned it into a corporate account. They just suckered you into using the name so they can send you all the bills. So the proof of ownership of your name belongs to the people who own your DNA, which prove who you are. That's the system. That's the scary part. That's the part most people don't want to get. All right, so nobody says, and have you ever seen this documentary, Dude is Deep, and Who Led Me to You? I haven't gotten the chance to watch many documentaries lately. Sovereign Humanoid 33, and forgive me if I butcher any of these names, says, thank you for all your hard work, time, and knowledge. Thank you. That deserves mention, and I appreciate that. He writes, question 1, who would fill David and Henry's shoes once Henry is dead? I would have to know who David and Henry are to be able to answer that question, so you'd have to be a little more specific. I hope you're not meaning David Wilcock, because let me give you my opinion on David Wilcock. Don't listen to him, if that's who you're referring to. Nobody says, Chromatica, expand your consciousness. That is always good advice. Sacramento says, ask them for original proof. You have business with them. Again, original means first copy, so you have to learn your terminology. What you want to ask for, if you're going to ask for any document, is the genuine document. That's why they always say, you are the genuine article. So again, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So if you don't know the legal terminology and the legal definitions, you're entrapping yourself through your own ignorance. And because ignorance is no excuse of the law, that's not their problem. So I know a lot of people drowned in good intention, where you'll say things and you think you're really helping people. And that's one of the things I had to learn through my years of process of learning all this stuff, is they don't make it easy. And they're not going to give you the information unless you search high and low for it. So, like, for example, people say all the time, I am a free citizen. That's like, or saying I'm a sovereign citizen. That's like saying I'm a free slave. You have to know the legal definitions. And if you're not willing to study the legal definitions, then you're always going to entrap yourself, because you're going to say the wrong things. Because we think language is just that, just language. Well, in court and in law, words that you think are everyday words have different meanings in law. And you can entrap yourself through your own ignorance. And here's the funny part. Unless you have a multi-million-dollar lawyer, and they probably won't even help you with it either, lawyers aren't going to tell you this stuff either. So who are they really working for? Because remember, a lawyer, whether you're guilty or innocent, whether you get jail time or fees, they get paid. And they don't suffer the consequences for your volunteering of your servitude to enter the courtship, because it all has to do with admiralty law. So resource-based economy says, did you ever listen to that song by Sire I sent you on Facebook? Unfortunately, I haven't. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I literally get thousands of comments, emails, and suggestions per day. And that's just on my YouTube channel. That's not including my Facebook account. So I get so many, it's very hard to be able to listen to everything. I mean, plus with 2 jobs and everything, it's just going to be very hard. So unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to see that yet, so I apologize. 5 Artist Liberali says, what song is that resource-based economy? I'm not sure what that means. All right, nobody says, I'm saying, aren't we protected with the Uniform Commercial Code? Well, if you want to be protected under their corporate account, then, a store has to cover their employees. So keep that in mind. Think of the U.S. corporation, the Australian corporation, the Canadian corporation, the United Kingdom corporation, whatever corporation you live in. Think of it like you working for, let's say there's a place called Bob's Bakery, and it's a billion-dollar corporation with millions of stores worldwide. Now, because you work for them, they have to protect you. They're going to make sure you have health insurance. They're going to make sure you get paid. They're going to make sure you're in a safe working environment to the best of their ability, because if their employees are dropping like flies, they're going to get sued and they're going to lose their business. So they have to protect their people. But the consequences are, if they tell you you have to work on a Sunday at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you have to wear specific clothes, and you have to sweep the floors and scrub the toilets when we tell you to, well, if you want to keep that job, you got to do what they say. So there is a little bit of give and take. That's why they have rules and regulations, because the government makes money off of the people. You're their cattle. If you're all dead, what money do they make? And that's why I tell people all the time, stop listening to the Alex Joneses in the world and the people that leave the fear porn talking about FEMA camps and everybody being murdered. Governments throughout history, kings, czars, emperors, what name you, presidents, they make money off the people. They make money off of your labor. If you're all dead, what money are they making? Who's going to do all the work? Who's going to do all the labor? It's nice to be able to talk about fear porn because it gets people's views. And if you're desperate for views, well, that's the wrong way to do it, and you're helping them by making them these scary, evil monsters. Governments, in a nutshell, make their profit off of your labor. They want you to work. Now, of course, there are going to be people who are going to get sick and die along the way. There's going to be a certain age where you're no longer useful or too young to be useful yet. They want to keep children alive. They want to keep them safe. You know, I'm sure you love your pets. You want to keep them happy and you want to keep them safe. But think, for example, if you own a cat and you want to keep your cat inside, well, you will never let that cat out. And if it tries to get out, you'll chase it and get it back in. And I've seen videos on cats where they put a cat out for the first time, and the cat was so scared it wanted to run back into the house. It was used to its servitude. It was used to its prison. Although it was a nicer prison, think about your animals that you keep locked up in cages. Think about a fish in a fish tank. In the wild, it would be able to swim wherever it wanted to in the world, in the oceans or in the lakes or streams where it came from. But you put it in a fish tank. Now, you could absolutely love it and do your best to take care of it. Now, the benefit of being in a fish tank, for example, is they really don't have to worry about predators. You're going to clean the tank. You're going to make sure they have food. So they are going to always be prepared for food, but at the cost of their freedom. So it's the same thing with us. Anywhere in the world, there is a cost for your freedom for them. They are going to want to take care of you. That's why they allow things like amusement parks to be created. They want you entertained. That's why they have all these sports shows to watch and TV shows to watch and music to listen to. They want to keep people distracted and entertained. But make no mistake, they want to make money off of you, and they can't do that if you're dead. And the price to pay for them to give you food stamps or give you all of these things is you have regulations. Because they don't want everybody driving around drunk, smashing into each other, because every person that dies, that's another person that's not going to be shoveling the dog manure, who's not going to be building a bridge, who's not going to be educating the next form of slave that grows up. This is the give and take. And the reason why most people, as they say, fall in love with their captors, because they give you some things to survive. There's a price to pay. So if you're a fish in a fish tank, you're going to love the fact you're going to get fed every day. You're going to love the fact that, for the most part, there's not going to be any predators to eat you, but you can't go where you want to go. You're not really free. And it doesn't matter if you love them or not, because I am a cat lover. I have 3 stray cats. We don't let them outside because we don't want them to run away. We don't want them to get hit by a car. We don't want them to be covered with fleas. We don't want a next door neighbor's dog to kill them. So they lose some of their freedom. Yes, they are loved. And yes, they are well fed. I mean, my cats eat better than I do. We feed them all organic food. But in a way, they have a form of prison. And it's the same thing with us. But the difference between an animal and us is we can make rational decisions. We can make choices. And that's what people need to know about. And this is how they enslave people. So let's continue. Nobody says I like the coffee analogy. I didn't know I made one, but if I did, excellent. All right. Sovereign Humanoid 33 said, why is the mainstream media distracting us so heavily on the Kathy Griffin thing? Well, for one, it gets you distracted. Number two, it separates the people. Some will be with her, some will be against her. It's all about using your emotions against you. And that's why I've said all the time, it's okay to have emotions, but if you allow them to control you, especially the negative emotions, and you don't learn anything from them, well, they're there to keep you grounded, to keep you distracted. That's why I don't watch the television anymore. The only reason I even know about that is because my wife said something about it. I don't watch the news because I don't participate in their show, because there's a reason why it's called the television program. You're being programmed because, like I've said before, I've said it in other videos, you create your own truth, you create your own consciousness based on your feelings and belief. So if they can give you and feed you information that turns your belief system into something that they've designed, well, they create the very thing that you volunteer to do. And because everything is based on free will, they didn't force you to create that. You just believe it. Like, for example, how many people that you know that talk around the water cooler or talk about politics are saying, oh, all these problems we have with Russia? Well, did anybody show any evidence or proof of anything with Russia? Or is it just the fact that every single day, every single media channel talks about this supposed Russian connection? Tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth, and people just hear the same thing over and over again, and they believe it to be true even when there is no factual evidence. That's how they get you. That's how they program you. So that's why they do even things like what you just mentioned, is the fact that they get you emotionally involved, they get you distracted, they get you to think of a certain way and not focus on what's mostly important. So that's what that's all about. All right, so let's get to the next one. Let's see. All right, Russell Hall. Do you think Alex Jones was a truther? Then he saw he could make a lot of money with this fear tactics. Well, the best I can do is assume, but all I can say is, by their deeds you shall know them. You don't see my live shows ever going to a commercial break. You don't ever see my live shows stop for a sponsor. You don't see me promoting hundreds of products. There's a reason why people do what they do, and when you have others involved in what you do, their say is always going to be an influence on your ultimate decisions. So Alex Jones, I have a video that a YouTuber that I used to subscribe to, I think I'm still subscribed to him, but he hasn't made a video in a while himself. His name's Corey C. He lives in Texas, and he actually met Alex Jones in a big shopping store. And Alex Jones made a video talking about that in this particular store. He's saying, oh, we're winning the truther movement. There is nothing but organic and non-fluoride toothpaste. And they show the aisle and say, look, we're winning the war. Things are finally starting to go our way. And Alex Jones shows all of the aisle where there's nothing but health food toothpaste, healthy toothpaste. And then Corey C. saw that video, went back to that very store he went to, and said, here's the aisle that Alex Jones was showing you. Now this is the health food section. Let me show you where the regular toothpaste is. So with the video streaming, he went a couple of aisles down to another section and showed all the regular toothpaste. So Alex Jones was caught lying. So what does that tell you about somebody's integrity, that they would purposely lie to people? Assuming that most people are not going to know what store he was in, let alone know that he was making a video about it. So that to me is dishonesty. Now, I've made mistakes before, but I'm not here to purposely deceive people. So Alex Jones, whether you want to listen to him or not, that's up to you. My opinion, I don't listen to the man because it's just too much influence. And if somebody that powerful talks about how many people get murdered and disappear, him being the loudest voice in this community for nothing to have ever happened to him tells me everything I need to know. So either he's the most luckiest person in the world and he's full of intention, or there's something else to it. And this is what I say when it comes to Alex Jones. If you have 99 pounds of ice cream and mix in 1 pound of poop, what do you have? You have 100 pounds of poop. So in other words, it doesn't matter if they're giving you a bunch of stuff that makes sense. It's the stuff that doesn't make sense that entraps you and enslaves you. And that's why I even tell people about Trump. I say be careful about this because he's a leader of a corporation. Yeah, he might be nicer than what Bill Clinton was, or George Bush was, or Obama was, or what Hillary Clinton would have been. But he's just like, for example, the fish tank analogy. You can have a person that absolutely, just imagine if you're a fish and your original owner hardly ever fed you, didn't change the water, was all cloudy all the time, and gave you just enough to survive. And then all of a sudden, you're sold to another owner who treats the water with chemicals to make it better, who feeds you fanciest of foods all the time, who is actually nice to you. Guess what? You're still a slave. You're just in a nicer slave environment. So that's why I always tell people to think differently, think outside the box. So yes, in my opinion, is Trump better than Hillary Clinton would have been? Absolutely. But he's just a nicer slave owner, getting people to want to do more work to make the corporation stronger. All right, so let's continue. Let's see. All right, shout out would help. So absolutely, Southern Sovereign Humanoid 33 is your shout out. Tales of Caliber, hello Barnum and lovely people. The lovely people, I'm sure, say hello back, but thank you. CJD Music Man says you can't copyright your name. Well, how can you copyright something you don't own? Can you copyright Disney? Of course you can't, because you don't own it. And when you were born, your parents signed over your rights, and they claimed your DNA, which proves who you are. So you cannot copyright your name because you don't own it. Just like you can't copyright the name Disney, or Marvel, or DC, or Macy's, because it's not yours. And your name is not yours. You do not own your name legally. And when it comes to the law, only legalities matter. Not saying, oh, my name is John Smith and it will always be John Smith. Well, that's wonderful. You can scream that out to the world. But if you go to court and say your name is John Smith, they don't want to hear it, because it doesn't matter what you say or what you claim in their society of crime. Go on a pirate ship and tell them how free you are while you're stuck in the middle of the ocean on their boat. Even if you're not doing what the captain says and they let you walk around the boat freely. Just imagine if the pirate ship, the pirates capture 1,000 people for doing all the work on the boat. And you're in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the ocean. And you go up to the captain and say, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be free. And for some reason, the captain goes to you and says, okay, guess what? You're no longer a slave of this boat. You're free to go. Where are you going? You're in the middle of nowhere. You're on their slave ship. So yeah, you don't have to do the work anymore, but you're still stuck on the boat. Well, what are you going to do? Swim away and drown? This is what I'm talking about, being in the corrupt system. 5 Artist Liberale says your video about that you put on an arrow near the view counts. In some channels it jumped almost 10,000. That video was crystal clear that YouTube is messing with the new counts. Yeah, I've had that all the time. I even have videos. If you're new to my channel, if you go to one of my videos I made earlier this year, I show a few videos proving that as soon as a video of mine uploads, no matter what the content, it's blocked in some countries. Now, I can understand if it's fear porn or it's not for children to hear. But even my latest videos, where I was talking about inspiration and raising your consciousness, those are blocked in some countries. You're not allowed to see them. I would love to know why, but YouTube does not communicate with you. That is why I need the help of my subscribers to share my videos, to post them on your social networks, to have other people watch them, because YouTube is not going to allow it. And what do I say about that? It must mean I must be saying or doing something right. Because if my stuff was full of garbage, they would want it to be out there freely to show, oh, look at what an idiot this person is. Look how stupid he is. The fact that they're trying to hide it from people says to me it's information they don't want out. That's my opinion. But yeah, YouTube is very good at changing views and making this very difficult. Sacramento Lenny says, they are the cancer we need to kill. We don't need to kill them. We just need to no longer bother them. You know what? If you don't mess with a hornet's nest, you never get stung. If you mess with a hornet's nest, don't complain that you got the worst end of the deal. So if we start killing people, then how are we any better than them? The idea is to rise above You know, if you're at a casino and you go to the slot machines, and no matter how many times you pull that lever, no matter how many dollars or coins you put in that slot, you lose, and you find out that the slot machines are rigged to never win, well, just imagine how dumb you must be if you continually put quarters into that machine. If you continually think you're going to win, or if you complain to the owners who rigged the machines that it's unfair. Now, destroying that machine will get you what? It will get you arrested. If you walk out of the casino and no longer participate, well, it can no longer affect you. So the idea is to think differently. They want you to riot. They want you to be violent. They want you to start revolutions, because then they can regulate you even further by creating more laws and saying, well, they're justified because, look, we got to control these anarchists. These people are out of control. We got to stop them from hurting the children and the local businesses. So they love when you get violent. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, every war throughout history, how many of them have been fought by the actual people that started them? They send you and your children and your family and your friends to go kill and die for their own profit. And we seem to think of it as patriotic. Thanking our soldiers for murdering and stealing other people's property. I'm sorry, my father was in Vietnam. He was a major in Vietnam. My grandfather served in World War II. If they only knew what they were fighting for. Forcing people that don't believe in murder to go and kill for somebody else's profit. Wars are created to create jobs, to create income, not for you, but for the extremely wealthy, because they borrow the money to finance and they hand you the bill. And we keep doing it. We keep volunteering our servitude. We keep complaining about it. And let me show you how good complaining is. Stand on a street corner, have somebody come up to you and nonstop punch you. And you hold up a sign and get a bunch of your friends to hold up a sign and sleep all around you in tents, complaining how unfair it is to be repeatedly punched, and see how much that will save you, how much it will stop what's going on. People love to complain, but they don't love to do anything that may mean a little bit of sacrifice, to do what it takes to truly be free, and to know what's going on. And that's why it continues to this day and will continue for millenniums to come, until people finally say, I no longer consent and no longer participate. That is why I don't have a bank account. That is why I only have a federal credit union. That is why when I make any of their fiat currency, I turn it into either food, I turn it into investments with gold and silver, or even collections like comic books that will bring me potential protection later on. I don't invest in Wall Street. I don't take bank loans out. I don't buy things I cannot afford, putting myself further and further in debt. I do not consent to their laws. And if everybody around the world did that, what are they going to do? This is what they don't want people to know, and this is what they want everyone to be distracted from. And I wouldn't be surprised if this video gets banned, blocked, or the audio screws up after a while. Let's see. Mike Anderson says, I've only been listening to you for 4 days, learned a lifetime of info. Thank you, man. Thank you. I welcome you to the channel, Mike, and I have literally over 1,000 videos. I hope you check them out. I even have a Patreon account if anybody ever wants to join that, and it's not mandatory. And what I do is on my Patreon account, and the link is in the comments, in the description, is I will get all of the most important videos that I have, and I'll post them there to make it easier, ones that I think that are really important for you to watch. Now, obviously, you can get them all here if you want to search through thousands of videos, so it's not mandatory. And speaking of which, I wanted to do a quick shout-out to 2 people that joined my Patreon, because I don't get a lot. I think I have a total of 5 Patreon members. But a shout-out to Marianne Ladner and Robert J. Lyons, who just recently joined my Patreon. So I use that because it does help. So it's not mandatory, and I appreciate those that want to listen. Craigslist says, Chris makes some great products. Check out his store. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully you've been there. What he's talking about is I sell organic products and make orgone pyramids and sell crystals. If you don't resonate with that, I can totally understand. But if you want to check it out, there's, again, a link in the comments section. I really don't talk about that too much I think maybe of my 1,100 or so videos, I've talked about it maybe 5, 6 times at most, because I want my channel to be about information, but I mean, it's there for people that want it. J-Man Truth Seeker says, thanks, Chris. Thank you, J-Man. I appreciate it. You are a subscriber to both my channels. Anonymous Farm says, Wilcox is a hoax. I tend to agree with that statement. Let's see. J-Man Truth says, food stamp free is the way to be. Well, if you want to be a slave in the system, then absolutely it will be. They want to make sure they give you just enough to survive but never thrive. Think about that. Government programs are there to help you to survive, but never to thrive, because you will always be dependent on those food stamps. The idea is to keep the people poor, but keep them wanting your assistance because they're giving you just enough to survive. That's why your cats and your dogs and your parakeets and your ferrets and your lizards and your tarantulas and whatever pets you have tolerate your whatever you do. And some people even abuse their animals, which I think is a cowardly thing to do, but a lot of them will put up with it because they'll get free food. You know, sometimes people will accept a lot of misery to get a couple of little things that they might think are luxuries, but to them, it's scraps. That's why, you know, when we feed our dog off our table, we're not making a meal for them, but we'll give them a couple of little pieces because they wagged their tail and did a trick. Don't be a good little obedient dog. Be better than that. All right. Steve Huff says, did you check out Terrence McKenna? I've watched so much stuff lately. I may have. I apologize if I haven't had the chance to see it yet. But again, I get literally thousands of links every day. And that's just on this channel. You know, I have my other channel as well, We Love Comics. So anybody into comic collecting, you can check that out as well. All right. Sacramento Lynn says, eugenics vaccinations are in progress. Well, if you never get vaccinated, you don't have to worry about it. You know, it's like if they say if you go swimming in the ocean, you could get eaten by a shark. Well, if you never go swimming in the ocean, guess what? The chances of you being eaten by a shark are dramatically reduced. So let's say they are into the eugenics and vaccinations. Well, if you don't get yourself vaccinated, you don't have to worry. Again, don't volunteer your servitude. So you can make the scariest things into play. Yes, they could be murdering people. They could be putting crap in your food. Well, if you keep going to McDonald's and eating their crap food, then don't be shocked if you get sick from it. Start eating better. It's all about taking responsibility and doing things that are better. It's going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be more work. It may even be more expensive, but it's definitely going to be a healthier way to live. It's all by choice. Let's see. J-Man Truth Seeker says, to Seth Rich was one of the blind zombies that woke up only to be gunned down. How sad. It is unfortunate. Michelle says, hello all. I say hello back. We all do start out blind from birth. Absolutely. J-Man Truth Faker. We all start out blind. But remember, like any contract, the only way they can get away with deceiving you is if you don't contest it. If you just accept it and say, oh, well, that's the way it is, nothing I can do about it, well, you're right. You created your own truth. You don't do anything to fix it, so it becomes that relevant. You want to fix it, do everything that you can in your power to make sure it gets fixed. All right. Sacramento Lynn says, all bar attorneys around the world take an oath with the city, London state. They are pirates? Absolutely. So why associate with them? Why work with them? Why ever put yourself in the situation to have to use their evil corruptiveness? Let's see. Nancy Davila says, did you ever complete your copper headband with your double coordinated quartz and rubies? I absolutely did. I have to make myself a new one because I used to wear it so much. It basically ripped apart. But let me tell you, copper is a conductor of electricity. And I have a couple of videos to teach about if you get yourself a copper band, put it around your head, and I added some crystals and everything because, believe it or not, crystals have energetic properties and fields, and they resonate at different frequencies. If you place copper band around your head, it actually increases your brain capacity because your brain is an electric computer, and copper isn't a conductor of electricity. You ever see somebody wearing magnets around their wrists? It's not magic. It's not voodoo. It all has to do with the fact that we're made of metals, electricity, salts, and water. They're all conductors of electricity. We're electrical beings. Makes you wonder why kings and queens throughout history have always had gold and silver bands around their head. Most people might think it's just fancy jewelry and they can make it out to look that way, but what if it's doing something more that they don't tell you about? Wouldn't shock me. What about you? So I have to make another one, but I highly recommend, if you ever get the opportunity, make yourself a copper band. It's got to be pure copper. Obviously, silver or gold would be better, but, that's a little expensive. So but copper would be the minimum one. Put it around your head, and you'd be amazed at the way your brain will start to work in overtime. Let's see. Terry Coleman says, in a law term, the word person, from what I've been told, means corporation. Absolutely. If you watch my video, The Truth About the United States Law and You, I actually go from the Black's Law Dictionary, the actual definition of the word person, the word citizen, the word corporation. You say to somebody that's your friend, oh, you're a good person. There's not much more into it. But if you say, are you a person in the United States government law, it means something else. So if you want to say I'm a free citizen, you might as well just say I'm a free slave, because you don't understand or understand the legal definition of the word citizen in legal terms. If you say citizen out on the street, it means nothing. There is no consequences. But if you admit to being a citizen in law or in court, you're putting yourself in jeopardy because you don't understand what you're saying. And ignorance of the law is no excuse. You have all that information out there to check freely. Why do you think every year there are thousands of books of law added every day? Because no one will ever get to learn all the laws. And because they are in control, they can change them at any moment. So why play the game? Watch the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick. It was a mid-'80s movie. And it's all about a computer that becomes self-aware and wants to start what it thinks to be a game, which would be starting World War III. And in the end, the computer learns that no matter what the scenario was, if you play the game, you will not win. So the best way to win the game is to never play. That is what everybody watching this video should learn about life. If you don't want to play their corrupt game, because you will always lose, or you'll win just enough to keep playing and getting addicted to it, if you want to not be in their system, you don't play, which means you don't volunteer your servitude. And if everybody did that, we would truly be free. But there are prices to pay for that. I mean, look at the show Walking Dead. Take away the zombies, and you have people living on their own. It's not easy. So there is sacrifices. All right, so Anonymous Farm says the Georgia Guidestones do say depopulation, though. Okay, so just because they say it, does that mean that's what's going to happen? It'll happen if we accept it. So if there's another stone that comes up tomorrow that says only 5 people will be left on the earth tomorrow, does that make it true? Again, it's all about choice. It's all about creating your own universe based on your own belief system. Do you want to believe in the Georgia Guidestones? If you do, then believe what they write down. Just because they wrote it doesn't mean it has to stay that way. I don't know why those Georgia Guidestones are still up. If enough people had a problem with it and they decided, you know what, we're going to destroy those, and I'm not saying anybody should do it, because you really shouldn't be destroying public property, but if, let's say, there was a natural disaster and that thing got, crumbled to pieces, does that change anything? It's up to the people. Resource-based economy says, do you have any gardening knowledge? Me and my wife do know enough. I have a whole system that we can garden with that's solar paneled, so we can actually make stuff in our house if need be. I have plenty of non-GMO seeds that I have vacuum sealed, ready to go, and just in case. So it's always good to know about these things, just for your own, saving money at the very least. Nick S. says, why don't you show your face? Well, I have literally hundreds of videos where I do show my face. The reason I do it this way, it's just easier. Because, if I want to be in my bathrobe and just hang out and not have to worry about if my hair looks good or whatever, I could just talk. And plus, as far as uploading videos, doing it this way, it uploads a lot faster. So it's not that I'm afraid or have anything to hide. It's just it's a lot easier for me. So if you look at my old videos, I literally have about 1,000 videos where I show my face. And to me, the message is more important than what I look like. So I appreciate that, but there's nothing hidden. I just find it a lot easier to do it this way. Even on my comic book channel, because I want it to be all about comic books, and it's just easier to use my voice. And, you go with your strengths. I mean, I'm not an unattractive man, I'd like to think. And even if people thought so, it doesn't matter. My wife absolutely loves me, so that's all that matters. But it's just easier for me. J-Man Truth Seeker says, talk about distractions. Cough, cough, Kathy Griffin. Yep, we talked about that. That's exactly what this is all about. Resource base, you talking to me. All right. Terry Coleman, subscribe, then you will see his face. Yeah, like I said, if you watch my videos, there are plenty of videos where I show my face. So if you really need to see me that bad, you'll be able to. It's not anything, good or bad either way, but it's just a matter of convenience. We got a lot of questions here, so let me scroll down a little bit. And I want to thank everybody because this means a lot to me. I have over 4 million views as far as my videos are concerned. My truth about the United States law and you just recently went over 500,000 views. Now, there are plenty of channels that can get that within an hour. And I made that video back in 2013, but it means a lot to me that finally, even with YouTube trying to hide it, the message is slowly getting out there. So to you, all of you that shared, to the 5 or 6 people that joined my Patreon account, to everybody that comments and listens to my videos, and the people here, I want to thank you. It means a lot to me. Let's see. J-Man Truthseeker says, would love to turn on the news and hear actual news. You're not going to do that in a corrupt system because it's owned by the government. Governments own how they regulate your food and water. Governments own what can and cannot be said in schools. Governments run what can and cannot be said on the television. Governments control what can and cannot be placed in your medicines. They have every kind of resource controlled. And then if I ask people, name 5 people throughout your history of your lifetime that were politicians in any form of government that you would say are honorable and kept their promises. People struggle to think of one. And yet these are the people we put our trust in every few years because another one comes along and says, oh, I'm going to fix things. And we find out more and more how corrupt they are. It's amazing how people still allow these people to continue to run us. Sovereign Humanoid 33 says, the cat and fish, love that, man. Well said. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of people appreciate my analogies because I find that if you picture something, you tend to memorize it a lot better. And I can give you a quick little way how easily it is to memorize things based on how to picture things in your mind. Because, for example, if I said to you right now, describe your dashboard of your car, if you own a car, you would probably be able to picture it to a T because you'd be picturing it while you're driving. You'd know where the steering wheel is, where the radio is, where the air conditioner is. Not because you memorized it, it's because you visually have it in your mind. So if you become more visually oriented and see things moving around in your head and create images, you'll actually have a better memory because you'll be able to picture things. So I love to, when I talk about stuff, do a lot of analogies where you could picture them in your mind and it sticks with you a lot longer. So I'm glad that works with you. Let's see. Craigslist says, Chris, what are your thoughts on CERN? I've made a couple of videos about that. It really boils down to the fact that when you really break down the universe, it is like they say in comics, and they've been saying it since the 60s, even earlier than that, multiverses, that there is an endless amount of Earths, there is an endless amount of views, they are just at different frequencies, so you'll never know about it. And because light travels faster than your eye can conceive, things look like they're moving fluently when they're just still images. CERN is just one of many possibilities of just tapping into one of our closest alternate realities, and it's affecting us in ways that most people just pull off as coincidence or just crazy thinking. CERN is nothing that I would be concerned about unless you want it to be something to be concerned about. Again, you will create your own truth based on your own system. Now, the best way to create your own system is to base it on fear. What better way to get you to believe in something than to be scared of it? And with your fear as a strong emotion and anger as a strong emotion, it will really influence your path. There is no destiny. There is no one direction. And I've used this multiple times. If you have a piece of paper in your hand, if you let it go, the destiny will be it will drop to the floor or wherever you are. That's provided you don't do anything to stop it. So if you take a piece of paper or a pencil or something in your hand and just hover it above the ground, if you let go of it, it's going to fall. It's going to hit the ground. That's its destiny if left untouched. But if you don't let go or you catch it in midair, you've changed its destiny through your participation. Why do you think governments throughout the world have always wanted people to have them be taken care of by them? They want you to not do anything because then they can influence your path. If you're traveling down a road, you can go in many different directions. If they don't want you to continue forward, they can put a block, they could put a dead end, they could do a repair. They can easily control your path, but you're never stuck. Because even if you have to go backwards, you're not going to go backwards forever unless you choose to. It is all a choice. You have more power than they will ever let you know or you will ever believe. And since your truth is based on your belief system, if you believe you have no power, then your truth will be you have no power, and everything around you will suggest that what you say is true. So why make it evil and corrupt and difficult? Again, it's all choice. Nick S. says, why have you stopped recording videos with your face? I actually already went through that. Hopefully you'll understand. It's just a matter of convenience. It's just easier for me. Besides, to me, the message is more important, but there's plenty of videos if you really want to see how good looking I am or how unattractive I am. It depends on what you think. Let's see, Jay Truth Seeker, J-Man Truth Seeker, Alex Jones sold out 1,000 times over, absolutely, and yet he's the most popular quote-unquote truther on YouTube. Why? Because he's dramatic and he's full of fear porn, and people love drama. Well, you get what you give. You love drama, you're going to get drama. So if you want drama in your life, continue to feed it. Feed the beast that destroys your city and wonder why it's not going away. All about choice. Let's see. Nobody says, if somebody takes your cup of coffee and you don't tell them they can't have it, whose coffee is it? Well, if you go legally, if you have a cup of coffee and somebody takes it and you say nothing about it and you let them get away with it, you've consented to them taking it and it becomes theirs. You consented through your silence. If you argued it and contested it, well, then since you were the first person to have it, you would have legal rights to it under the law. All goes down to consent and whether people do something about it or not. Sometimes it's hearsay. So when in a court, it's going to be hard if it's one word against the other, if there's no evidence. Hearsay, it basically boils down to credibility. Why do you think when it comes to the politics and people in government and people on the media, they're always attacking people's credibility, attacking them personally? Because if you don't like them, you won't trust them no matter what they say. And that's why even some of my haters, no matter what I say and do, they will always hate what I say because they don't like me as a person. It has nothing to do with my message because not every single thing I'm going to say is wrong, just like not everything I'm going to say is 100% right. But for me, it's going to be 100% wrong or 100% right. That's all that matters. Let's see. Let's scroll down. Let's see if I can get some other people. The philosophist says they don't want us to know we're the creditors or how to establish that relationship, and there are too many disinfo agents out there. We must study and know how these systems work. Absolutely. If you rely on corrupt people to give you information, you're never going to get the truth or the truth that works for you. If you want to sit around and hope that somebody else will take care of you, you better hope they're good, honest people, because if they're not, they're going to have their best interest in mind, or the people that pay them the most or take care of them the most or protect them the most. Not you. So keep that in mind. If you want to rely on others, you better hope they're trustworthy. So the more you speak and do for yourself, the less likely you're going to be in those dangerous situations. Let's see. Philosopher says, by the way, congratulations on discovering Alan Watts. Thank you. It was just the right time for me to resonate with that particular frequency. If I would have seen Alex Watts years ago, I wouldn't have been able to accept it because I would have probably thought it was garbage or crazy. Everything happens for a reason. Everything will happen at the right time, whether you realize that or not. So just allow your life to continue the way it's going. And even if something is bad, sometimes it's just to push you in a better direction. Always keep that in mind. When things are going bad, maybe it's because somebody says, oh, I see what's ahead, and you're better off going in another direction, and since you won't listen to me or don't know how to listen to me, I'm going to distract you and make you go in another way, and what better way to catch your attention than have something bad happen? Because you don't tend to run away from good things. You tend to run away from extremely bad things. So which one's a better motivator? And if it brings you somewhere else better, then was the bad thing really bad, or did it serve a purpose? And if you think in a different way, then you will see negativity as nothing more than a learning tool to get you to be in a better position because you've learned something from it. So that's wisdom, that's experience. I will take wisdom over education any day. Education is somebody else telling you what's the truth. Wisdom is experiencing it for yourself. All right, let's see. Solomon Hummingbird says, I've never even heard of Wilcox. Then I'm sorry I introduced that person to you. Don't ever look him up. It's garbage. Don't waste your time. My question was referring to Kissinger and David Rockefeller. Well, those are some of the people that influence the world through their financial ability. And like they say, by their deeds, you shall know them. So I don't know them personally, but I don't think they're doing anything to help us become better. So I would stay away from people like that. Let's see. Nick, I think he should record his face more. Again, it's just a matter of convenience. To me, it's just easier this way. And plus, also, when you have nothing to look at, you could do this while you're cooking food, while you're driving in your car, while you're on an exercise bike. A lot of people tell me they really like this because they can actually do other activities and just hear my voice. So you're not distracted by having to look at something. And I mean, honestly, if I'm making an hour video, which right now we're at the hour and 5 minute mark, how long could you stare at my face for? I mean, I would be very flattered if people really liked it, but it's not anything entertaining. So to me, it's the message that's the most important. That's what I want people to focus on. All right. Nancy Davila says you're a good-looking guy anywhere. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That was very nice of you to say. I'm sure there will be many people that will disagree, but that's okay. They're allowed to have their own opinion, and I appreciate yours. Resource-based economy says you have 7 on Patreon. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you did decide to join. I appreciate that, and it does help. So, I mean, I don't promote that stuff very often because I don't want it to be about that, but it does help. So I welcome you, and I hope you appreciate some of the videos I post there. Let's see. Let's scroll down a little bit. What are your thoughts on Stefan Molyneux? That's by Russell Hall. I've watched him a couple of times. He has some good ideas. I just think he's over the top dramatic, and I think a lot of that is to get views. He's very theatrical. I can definitely tell he has a Broadway-based background. I don't know if I'm right about that. I haven't watched enough of him, but I've tried to watch his videos, and because he's just so over the top dramatic, I can't really take him seriously. So if you like him, that's definitely somebody to watch. I haven't watched him enough to give a really valid opinion on whether he is somebody that's really out there for truth, but he's definitely over the top dramatic, and I don't like channels that do that just to get views. That's why I'm not trying to be like, oh my God, you got to watch this right now, and oh, you're going to die. No, I just talk straightforward. I'm a straight shooter. Some people are going to like it, some people are not, but at least they know I'm genuine. And to me, Stefan, in my opinion, just does not seem genuine. And that sometimes can lead to your decision about somebody's credibility. So if you like him, then more power to you. But I haven't listened enough to make a really good, solid opinion on him. Cinematic Seth says, you like what Jesse Ventura said about the two-party system. Don't really trust Jesse Ventura. As a matter of fact, there was one time he started following my channel. And I don't know if he's still following it or not, but he's listened to my channel before and never would respond to any messages or anything like that, which, obviously somebody that important and that famous is really not going to have time for somebody small like me, unfortunately. I don't know how I think about Jesse Ventura. On one hand, he says a lot of things that people want to, really make sense, but on other things, he's been part of the corrupt system. And if he doesn't know about it, he's either not saying it or there's more to it. And it's just hard to trust somebody that's worked that high in government and knows as much as he does and, basically moved to Mexico. That can pretty much tell you what you need to know what he thinks about this country. So, excuse me, hard to think about him in what direction he's truly going. But again, I can listen to anybody. I am always changing my thoughts, and I don't believe every single thing somebody says. I base things on what information will benefit and help my life and take that from them, and I just ignore the stuff that doesn't resonate with me. And that's what I tell people. Even people that listen to me, you're not going to agree with everything I say. You're not going to like everything I say. But if 1% of what I say helps you improve your life, then that's the one part that you should be, glad that was out there for you to hear because, things always happen for a reason. All right, let's see. Let's see. Have you heard? Let's see. All right. Um, comment first, shoot last. I like that name. What is your mission? Don't really have a mission. But I guess you would say if I had a mission is to try and speak as much truth as possible, learn as much as I can, and find a way to keep raising my consciousness to find out what this world is all about. And if I can help somebody along the way, to me, that's a great thing. So my goal is to it's fun for me to do this. It makes me feel better knowing I help other people. Like, for example, I'll help animals right now. Any of you out there that has any extra money and can donate to an animal shelter or take home an animal, like especially instead of a kitten or a puppy, find a dog or a cat that's middle-aged, one that is probably not going to have the opportunity to be adopted, and take it home and love it. Because I have 3 cats. 2 of the 3 I found as kittens. The third one, which was the one that came to our lives about 2 years ago, literally walked into my house, was 8 years old when we found her. And I have more connection with that cat, more love with that cat than any other animal I've had my entire life. She sleeps next to me every single night, and she sleeps under the covers next to me on my arm. Most loving cat. So you want to do, and it shows how easily that just doing something good, how it can just spread like a drug. So, for example, if I say right now, if you have the opportunity to go to an animal shelter, especially a shelter that kills animals, they say they do it for humane purposes, but you know what? Would you want to die in a humane way against your will? But if one person, after watching this video, says, you know what? I'm going to go to a nearby shelter. I'm going to get a middle-aged cat or dog. You just saved that animal's life. A good thing just happened. And if it was because of what I said, then just imagine what would have happened to that dog or cat if I never said what I said and you never heard it. So it shows how something, what you may seem as insignificant, can change the course of your life or someone else's life. Always think about that. All right, so I'm just going to answer one more because I don't want this video for too long. So comment first says, shoot faster, you're trying to raise your consciousness. I'm not trying, I'm doing. Everything that you learn that could better you and enlighten you will always raise your consciousness. If you try and do something, you will always fail. It's either you do it or you don't do it. And I'll give you a prime example. If you have a piece of paper near you, put it in your hand, wherever you are. Hopefully you're not driving. But take a piece of paper, crumble it up, and put it in your hand. And when I count to 3, I want you to try and let it go. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Did you drop it? If you did, you didn't try. You did it. If you kept it in your hand, you didn't try and drop it. You chose not to. The world is off and on, black or white, right or wrong. Once you understand or understand that, you will realize that everything is a choice. Trying means it's not motivating enough for you to do it. So I'm not trying to raise my consciousness. I am raising my consciousness. And the last question, 5 Artist Liberalis says, thank you, Chris, for being there for me yesterday when my Facebook channel was blocked because people from the Flat Earth No Trolls group bombarded my Facebook account and my account was blocked on Facebook. Yeah, it's no problem. I try and do what I can. It's not always easy, and if I could be an ear for somebody really quick, I will. And my channel is just basically about sharing my life experience with those who want to resonate with it or hear what I have to say. I don't have to be right all the 100% of the time, but I'm definitely not wrong 100% of the time. Some things you'll agree with, some things you will not believe in it at all. But at least you know that I have the ability to have my choice, unscripted, not paid for. Because as much as I appreciate somebody that, like, for example, maybe donated to my channel, which is few and far between, but there have been people, or somebody that joins my Patreon account, not one person will ever say, here, I'm going to give you this amount of money. I want you to say this, or lie about this, or sell a product you don't believe in. I won't do it. Some people will. I choose not to do that. And that's why, like, for example, instead of buying soaps from stores that have all this garbage chemicals in them, I make my own. And then I decided, well, that could turn into a decent business. And every now and then I sell somebody a soap or a deodorant. If it helps people and they appreciate it, that's great. And for example, even the things that I sell, my Orgone pyramids and my organic soaps and deodorants, I have videos that teach you how to make them. So you could either get them from me if you want to for convenience, or you can make them yourself because they teach you how to do it. So how much am I really out there for your money if I'm teaching you how to do it yourself? Not many people want to give those secrets. That's why one of the things I hate about the gold and silver market these days is you have plenty of people selling gold and silver that are telling you how wonderful it is. I know that gold and silver is wonderful, but I don't have to sell you anything to do it. I do it because I believe in it, not because I'm profiting from it. And with that being said, I'm going to end this video. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. This has been an incredible ride. I try and make videos when I can. I have to be inspired to make them. I don't want to just make them just to make a video. I want quality over quantity. And those of you who keep coming back and commenting, it's incredible. You can do anything that you want, including doing nothing. It is all coming down to a choice. Don't ever not believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself, because you have the choice to do everything in your life, even when things are hard. It's how hard you're willing to make something happen and something you believe in, and you will go far. And sometimes it's a challenge, because you know what? If you could win at a game easily, eventually you wouldn't want to play it. So levels in a game, think of it like a video game. If every character was a one-shot kill and you could never die, how fun would that game be after a while? It'd be boring as hell. So you need that challenge, and you need that resistance, so you can have something to fight for and something to live for. And again, there was an old saying that somebody said to me about making video games, is that one thing I've learned about playing video games is if you continuously confront enemies, you're going in the right direction. And with that being said, I hope you learned something. I hope you appreciated this. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to hit subscribe, we'd love to have you here. Check out my other videos. Comment at any time. I don't always comment, but I do try my best to do so when I can. And get a dialogue going with each other. And don't let other people take control of your life. You have control of your life, even if everybody says you don't. If you want to believe it, that will become your truth. So thanks for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next video. Thanks for listening, everyone.